So after day 3 of the first test in Antigua, it's time once again for Ask George. Daniel Chapman asks, if you had to choose between watching the day's highlights and watching paint dry, what colour paint would you choose?
I know what you mean. And yet, I kind of enjoyed it. I felt there was purpose to it, the whole way through. I thought it was really hard fought. And obviously the scoring rate was slow and there were moments when the game didn't seem to be really progressing. But actually, it always was, slowly. But there was real purpose in the battle. And I thought England actually at times, not with the new ball, bowled quite well. And some of the West Indies batting was brave and determined and clever. So, I know what you mean. I kind of enjoyed it. You wouldn't want every day to be like that. It wasn't that bad.
Do you think the West Indies should be looking to accelerate or just bat normally until they're bowled out? That's from Oliver Profit.
I thought they played it great, actually. I thought they were a wee bit unlucky with the Bonner dismissal right at the end of the day, in that England will go into the fourth day knowing they're probably not going to have to bowl for very long, but they are still going to have to bowl. And it's hot. It's really hot, really windy, really humid. Imagine, I was trying to think what the longest I've ever fielded for. I reckon it was about 60 overs. They're just about 160. Wow. So imagine they're going to have to put on their boots again. They're going to have to go through warm-ups again tomorrow morning. Really, really brutal. And if Bonner was still there, West Indies could have maybe added another 40. So I think we mustn't ever underestimate the impact that physical exhaustion, tiredness, whatever, plays in the game. And I thought that West Indies played it really smart. You can't, I don't think, go out there and just smack quick runs. It's not that sort of wicket. It's not a good wicket by any means. So I think they've played it absolutely great, and they've really given themselves a chance.
Has Wood's injury played into the West Indies' attritional batting today, trying to run them bowlers into the ground with 2 tests to come in quick succession? That's from Johnny Lubin. Do you think?
Well, he's dead right.
Was the West Indies approach quite deliberate?
Well, why wouldn't it be? It's a complete, wearing out your opposition. It's a completely legitimate tactic. Isn't that what happens in boxing? Isn't that how it's completely legit. And yeah, they've put a lot of overs into an attack with a few question marks. Anyway, there's no way Ben Stokes should have been rolling that amount of overs. We've spoken to him several times on this tour. It's always been about, he was saying he was going to be really cautious in this game with his bowling. Well, he hasn't been, has he? And so far, so good. I think he's been terrific. But you wonder how much it's taken out of him. It's 3 back-to-back tests. And England have fitness concerns now about Ollie Robinson and Mark Wood. They might well have to play a debutant in Barbados. So there are all sorts of concerns, and I think that's really, really smart cricket from West Indies. And, why shouldn't they? Yeah.
Will Calling asks, what level of Windies lead would open up the possibility of an innings defeat? Initially before the innings started, I thought anything around 40 or 50 only put the game even, because the fact that West Indies are batting last should be a bit significant. But it's above 60 the lead, isn't it? And there's no Mark Wood. And England look, well, we'll see, but some of them looked a bit weary. Why wouldn't they be? So I'd be surprised if this... look, who knows what's going to happen. What I would say is that I know it looked very flat today, but England pretty much squandered both new balls that they'd had. I'm not sure West Indies will. So it's still a new ball wicket. And 1 or 2 went up and down. You saw Kemo Roach, he got hit here, he got hit on the thumb. I think West Indies might bowl a bit better and the pitch might not look quite so flat, but we'll see. It is slow. So, England maybe can battle it out, but it's an uncomfortable lead. Was England's second new ball burst the slowest on record? I can't remember a lower average speed from the new ball pair in years of watching. That's from Tom Langridge.
Crikey, there's a question. Well, it wasn't quick. I don't know about that. What was it? The mid-120s in kilometres per hour. You see, there is it might not be coming across, but it is ferociously windy, and one of them will always be running into the wind. For a lot of the day, it was Wokes because it's a slight crosswind. It's sort of going from 5 leg to mid off, and that will have an impact. It might help his swing, it might, but equally, it's probably hard to run into. I also think that it's a wicket that didn't particularly encourage and reward pace. So, why wouldn't you bowl a wee bit within yourselves? Look, I actually thought they bowled really well in the bits when they didn't have the new ball. You've got to strike. You've got to strike in those 20 overs with the new ball, and they didn't.
Jason Cadwell asks, Jack Leach's best game of his career so far with the ball?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. It's a really interesting question. I've been really impressed with Jack Leach. So I have no issues with Jack Leach being a good bowler in helpful conditions. He knows his limitation is he doesn't turn it very much. He basically undercuts the ball. So he needs help from the surface to get it to move. So the worry is that you worry about whether he has the weapons to play a holding role when there's no help for him. I thought he did that great today, and I thought there were signs of improvement. Now, I don't have any data to hand for various reasons, but I figured that he was able to bowl a bit quicker, and because he can bowl quicker, there's more variation in his speeds. He was able to do that without losing any control at all. And he got some quite nice dip as well, very little spin. I mean, Paul Collingwood, I haven't checked it, but he said something along the lines of Ben Foakes only took 5 balls in 42 overs or whatever it was from Leach all day. I don't know if that's right. It seems like a stunning statistic if so. But basically, the point was there's no turn. And so, maybe on a quicker wicket, maybe against more dynamic batters, he might have struggled, but I saw signs of improvement. I think that's a really good question. I actually feel slightly encouraged by the piece I've written, which says how well Jack Leach has bowled, but you've asked it. Thanks for that.
We'll keep that one up then. Finally, Michael Penali asks, have Anderson and Broad been spearhead for so long, not just because they're quality, but also because the supporting cast that replace them aren't good enough?
Good question as well. I mean, you would have to say that at full strength, Mark Wood and Jofra Archer and maybe Ollie Stone might all be involved, and they're pretty good bowlers. I fear that when we look back at Chris Wokes' career, he's got this opportunity when he's just gone over the hill. I might be wrong, but I worried in Australia that he wasn't quite able to hit the speeds he could. Because I saw in New Zealand a couple of years ago, it's 2019, wasn't it? So 3 years ago. I did see him get stuff out of the... he got Kane Williamson out in Hamilton. That's as tough as it gets. And he got him out with a ball that kissed off the surface and I don't know, spat is a bit strong. But it moved, it did stuff. And it was because he was hitting the pitch harder. And it might just be that all those overs, all those knee injuries have just taken a wee bit of pace. 5-10% maybe. And he doesn't quite seem able to hit the paces he once could. And everything happens slower, and he doesn't quite get the same assistance from the surface. I don't know. It's possibly too early, but he's obviously had a disappointing few months in Test cricket. The others, Jofra, for example, it's terrific, isn't he? He's just injured. And same with Mark Wood. I think Mark Wood's been bowling brilliantly for months. I thought people were very harsh. We published a story earlier about Mark Wood's injury. He's clearly had this injury for a few weeks without anyone telling us. And people are like, he's always injured. But he's not. He's hardly been injured at all since he bowled when he was injured to help England win a World Cup. But since he took that 5-foot in St. Lucia, when he had the longer run-up, I think he's been absolutely fantastic. The stats don't always show it. So, I take the point. Broad and Anderson, obviously have been incredible bowlers for a very long time, and anyone's going to sort of pale by comparison. But actually, I think there's a bit more there, but we're not keeping them fit. But we won't keep them fit if we ask them to bowl that many overs. And, England broke Archer, gone too much. And I worry that they're going to break Stokes too, because a guy who's coming back from the side straight doesn't need to be bowling that many overs. Where was Joe Root? I mean, Joe Root bowled horribly, I get that.
he's got to bowl better and he's got to bowl more overs.